welcome to the Wunmi Bello Show. Every episode, I'll be bringing you unfiltered stories from old and new friends who've given me access into their most vulnerable and life-changing moments. Each conversation will take you on a therapeutic journey with laughter and refreshing relatability. Hello guys, so before we get into today's interview, I want to talk to you about HelloFresh, our sponsor for today's video. Thank you, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is a meal kit provider company that makes cooking your favorite meal not only easy, but super cost effective. With its well-detailed step-by-step card guide, today I'm making a delicious chicken thigh stir-fry noodles. HelloFresh provides you with all the ingredients you need to make your meal at wallet-friendly prices. Hello, wallet-friendly prices of just £3.25 per meal per person. Being someone who actually enjoys life being simplified for me, HelloFresh is a dream come true. The fact that your recipes and guide gets delivered right to your doorstep, imagine that. You're cooking, but you're cutting out the tedious task of ingredient shopping. A dream come true. So if you're looking for a way to liven up your cooking experience, this is definitely what you need. But please, let's take a moment just to appreciate my stir-fry noodles. I'm not gonna lie to you, this looks amazing. Not only does it look amazing, it tastes so good as well. So make sure you check out HelloFresh. So you've had such an interesting journey that I feel like I've almost witnessed it progress over the years, and I think that's why I'm really excited for this conversation, because I think the interesting thing about your journey is that it almost feels like you've taken every step very intentionally. Like everything you've done so far has felt very intentional and almost like it's you against the world. Am I right in saying so?
Yeah, I think when people look at like content creators or people online, they just assume that it just happened because they got lucky. And things like that. But I planned most of what I've done, which is kind of sounds boring in a way, because it's like businessy. But when I quit my job, because I used to work at IBM, so I worked there for 3 years. I was doing project management, and I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do. So I kind of prepped myself for like half a year for that. Told my parents I was like, I'm quitting my job. So they were kind of a bit apprehensive, because I think it's a generational thing. They didn't really understand what I was going to do, because I didn't even know what I was going to do, but it was kind of just like a leap of faith thing. I'll quit my job and then I have time to think about what I wanted to do with my life. So I quit my job. It'll be 3 years in April, so it's coming up to that time. And then I spent about 4 months trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do with my life. And I started off doing the Instagram fashion thing.
Which we're going to dive into.
Which I like. I find it so admirable that people can do that, but for me, it just was not my thing. Like, I didn't enjoy the process of it at all. And I was like, I need something that I can show my personality and people can see more than just a picture. Because I feel like online you tend to get based on your looks. It's like your
everything's very looks.
And it's like, don't judge a book by its cover, because there's so much more to me than meets the eye, and I used to get really frustrated about that. So I kind of sat down and I was like, right, where is there a gap in the market? And I've always loved gaming, like video gaming, and I wanted to get into presenting. So I was Googling top female gamers in the UK, and there is like a number of them that are like really, really good at what they do. But there was a gap for like a sort of high level commercial gamer that's into other things like makeup and fashion. And just is in that world, but also there's more to me as well. So I drew up a business plan because I had a manager at the time. So I needed investment because I had no money because I quit my job, and I needed to like invest in the equipment to do the gaming and stream and things like this. So me and my manager made a business plan and pitched it to investors, got investment for the equipment. And
you're joking?
No. So I needed I think the equipment would have come to about $4,000 or something. And I just needed that lump sum, and then I can just crack on and like do that. So got investment from that, and then just had to teach myself to edit videos, how to shoot content, do graphic designing. Well, I got a graphic designer to do my channel, but I knew how I wanted it to look, things like that, learn how to talk to the camera, strategize what I was going to do. So then between getting the investment And starting the YouTube channel, it was 4 months. So I didn't tell anyone. I literally was just like...
I remember seeing the post.
Yeah, because I put out a post, I think it was on my Instagram, just off
it was like a picture of you in front of your workplace.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm quitting my job.
Yeah.
And then 4 months later, I put, shall I start YouTube? And I think when people see that, if they're thinking, oh, she'll just like do a few videos of her just chatting to the camera or like do a vlog or something like that. So I did that. I just went quiet. And then 4 or 5 months later, I was like, tomorrow I'm doing my gaming channel. And everyone was just like, what's going on?
So let's go back to the point where you left IBM.
Yeah.
I keep calling it BMI. So when you left IBM, because I remember seeing the post, right? And obviously we had followed each other even before you made that post. And I just remember seeing you like with a couple other, influencers online. And I saw the post and I was like, this is amazing, because there was more to it, because you also said that you gave up, you left, you didn't have any car anymore.
Yeah, I had a company car, like my salary was decent. It's IBM's one of the biggest tech companies in the world, and my degree was in IT, so it was really good for me to be working there.
Was it scary for you making that leap of faith?
Yeah, 100%, because it's like you have a gut feeling that is not what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had no idea what it was that I wanted to do. So it was kind of just like, I'm going to have to figure this out. I feel like there was a period of time where I just was living in like a blur. Like,
whilst you were working there?
No, it was just after I left. And I was trying to figure out like, how am I going to make money? Because I live in London, like bills are expensive.
Wait, so before you actually left, there wasn't like a concrete plan?
No, I didn't. I just knew. So actually, around the time where I left, I had just got my show on Rinse FM.
Okay.
So I'd never presented before. I just I got into a rhythm of Instagram storying a lot. Like I would talk to camera, I'd rant, like everyone would like my rants.
Do you remember that you used to do these videos? It was like a little, do you know that when iPhones brought out the little avatar?
Yes.
Do you remember those videos? Yeah, I loved them.
So
like
I used
your
to
childhood
do those,
stories.
and I had a blog. I had a written blog. It was called Speaking of Witch, where I just used to blog about random stuff. This is whilst I was still working. So I was I had a voice, but it was written, and that was kind of my safety net, was the fact that I knew I could write quite well, but it wasn't me, and my face wasn't like to the blog. So that was kind of like putting the feelers out there type thing. And then I got the Rinse FM show, which was a chat show. So it was kind of like a podcast set up. And that was my first time ever presenting. And I never even thought before that maybe presenting is what I would want to do. But I just went with it. I was like, this could be fun. We'll see what happens. And from doing that, I kind of fell in love with it in a sense, because it was more, I kind of learned that people were interested in what I had to say, which I hadn't felt like before, because being, as you said, like I had a lot of friends in that sort of influencer space, and because I used to work full time, that wasn't my job. So I would go to events with them and things like that, but I would always be quite quiet because I was just there as their friend, and everyone kind of just knew me as the girl with red hair or the ginger girl that's friends with these people. And that was the first time when I first started presenting, is that I kind of really felt like people listened to what I said, because whereas before I just felt like a bit of a shadow. And I was like, okay, cool, like this could be something I would really want to do. Wow. So that's sort of how it blossomed, I guess.
When was the moment where you said, you know what, I need to leave this place?
There was many times. Even when I was doing my degree, I was just like, I'm not meant to be here.
Really?
Yeah.
But you still carried on?
I still carried on because when I was growing up, we were taught that you had to go to uni and get a good degree, and that was kind of just like the life plan.
The format,
The format is like you get GCSEs and then A-levels, and you go to uni, you get a degree, and you then get a grad job. Like that was the structure of my life. Yeah. So that's what I did. I just went with the flow. Yeah. And it was sort of about 2 years into working at IBM. I'd finished the grad scheme. I was kind of like, is this going to be my life? Wow. Like it was waking up every day, getting on the tube and rush hour and going to work and things like that. And I really commend people that do it, because it's just, it is draining, and you don't necessarily get paid what you're worth, what your qualifications are and things like that. And I kind of just, I've always been really determined. And I think that when something becomes mundane, I just get a bit bored of it. So I think I was just like, I need to not be here anymore. I think it was about 6 months before I quit.
6 months after being there?
No, 6 months before I decided to hand my notice in.
So the day that you said, all right, I'm leaving, the day that you did hand in your notice, what did that moment feel like for you?
I was really relieved. I felt a sense of relief.
Really?
Because I spent so long toing and froing whether I was actually going to do it. And I think up until that point in my life, I'd been quite sensible and I'm not very spontaneous.
Yeah.
And I think that was me kind of just being like, no, I'm throwing the towel in. Like, I need to take control of my life. And that's not sort of me being negative towards like my teachers from school or my parents or anything like that. But I do feel like I hadn't thought outside of the structure that was kind of taught to me. And that was me kind of being like, no,
I'm going to go against it.
I'm going to go against it now and just see where this takes me. So that's what I did. And luckily my parents were really supportive in the end.
How did they feel in the beginning?
Yeah, so even though they were probably like, what are you doing? Like, you know, how are you going to make money? You're quitting your job. They were always just like, we'll always be here to support you. So obviously that's good to hear.
Wow.
And I kind of just went with that, and I gave myself like 6 months to make it work.
This generation in general, I think a lot of us, there's this sense of, I don't want to do the 9-to-5 life. I kind of want to, you know, be creative. And I think a lot of the time, there's this unrealistic perception that, you know, you don't need to make certain sacrifices to get to that point that you want to. And I think the beauty about your journey is that you were very transparent about some of the sacrifices that you had to give up. Number one, the stable job, but then number two, which one, I don't know why this stood out to me so much, is the fact that you gave up your car. So I just kind of wanted to get an understanding as to what made you feel like you needed, was it a case of you need to be realistic with yourself in a sense that you need to pay for rent, so this is important. The car and all those other aspects, so whether it was material things, those other aspects aren't as important as, you know, some of the things that are going to keep you stable for this period in your life where you don't have as much income coming in.
To be honest, I felt like I didn't deserve any of it because it was more like, I've made this massive decision and I'm not going to have much money. I don't need a car. Like, it's not something that I felt like I should have at that time.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important because online we see a lot of people that like splurge.
Amazing
and
cars,
it's all about like materialistic
materials,
stuff. And luckily I've never been influenced by that. I don't know what it is. I just designer stuff and things that does nothing for me. Like, I'd rather just save my money.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely played a part in it. I was just like, do you know what? If I'm taking this leap of faith, I can't have luxuries. Like, I need to strip back and actually focus on what it is that I need to sort out to make sort of a long-term plan out of this. So yeah, got rid of the car, got rid of the job.
What other sacrifices did you give up?
I think I felt a lot of judgment from people that, it wasn't people that were around me, like my friends, like in London per se, but it's more where I'm not from London, so I do feel like I did feel judged from a certain perspective, because it's like, why would she quit a job? Like, she got a good degree, she's got a really good job, what's she doing? Oh, she's going to go and be an influencer and things like that. And I do feel like there is a big stigma around online personalities and influencers and people that aren't necessarily in that field that judge people, and they probably just wrote me off as being like, oh, she's given up a job to be an influencer, and that's what they thought. I was just kind of like ruining my life, and that's what I felt like anyway.
Well, you felt like that, so even though you knew your plan, you still felt a little bit
I felt judged. I knew that I would figure it out, but I did feel I put a lot of pressure on myself to figure it out, because number one, above anything, I hate failing. And it's not an ego thing, I just get embarrassed. Like, I would feel embarrassed if I'd taken a massive leap like that and it didn't work out. So I just there was no option to fail. That's what I left myself. I was like, I need to figure this out. I'll give myself a set time period. And if it doesn't work out, then I can always fall back on to like going back into the industry that I was in, which would have been hard probably, because it's like, why would you quit your job and then come back 6 months later? But luckily I did figure it out and I stuck at it. And I learned a lot during that time period, because I felt a bit lost, to be honest, for the first 4 months after I'd quit my job. And I think because of that reason, I would never tell people to quit their jobs to pursue their dream.
You wouldn't?
I think there's two sides. I wouldn't say you should do this. Like, I would leave them the option, because I think obviously it's worked out for me and I'm so grateful for that. But I did have support from my parents, and like, they did help me financially sometimes. So I'm not gonna lie and say like,
you did it all
you
on
can
your own.
quit. Yeah, so I had savings, but then in London, you've got to pay rent, and there's only a certain amount of time that lasts for, and you wouldn't believe how quickly like the money goes. So they did not for long, but like when I was really like struggling, they were like, okay, we'll help you because we can see sort of the vision at this point. So I would say, if you're gonna quit your job to pursue what it is that you want to do, make sure you're at a point where that what it is can sort of fund your rent and your bills and things like that, or you have savings that can sort of cover that for the amount of time you project that you would sort of like need to make money by. But then at the same time, my heart is just like, if you're not happy in what you do, then quit. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's two sides to it, but you have to be sort of realistic. And as you mentioned earlier, there is this whole thing around don't stay in your 9 to 5 and quit to pursue your dreams. And I think it's such a beautiful thing that we have that luxury now, because I don't think maybe like our parents' generation had that option because social media wasn't around. But then at the same time, I don't think that people in a 9 to 5 should feel bad for being in a 9 to 5. Like it's not a credible job, because I do feel like sometimes on social media there's this whole thing of like, oh, if you're in a 9 to 5, it doesn't mean you're a hustler and stuff like that, which is not the case at all, because people in companies work so hard, even just to get minimum wage. So I feel like anyone who's working is they're doing something. Everyone's a hustler. Just don't like social media make you feel otherwise.
At the point when you were still trying to, I guess, find your space and where you sit in this scene, you started to post more influencer-like content, right? And I remember there were certain pictures. It was very much like influencer style.
Oh my God,
you actually went out your way.
Coffee,
you went out, you used to like go outside and it'd be like at a random coffee place like this. Daytime, your face.
Honestly, like it just brings me back to dark times for me. But
and I think there was one day, and we spoke about this briefly, but I think there was like one post that you had made, and this was like after maybe like 6 months after you posted influencer like content, and you took a screenshot, and it was like, I think, what did you even say? You said you took a screenshot of your page and you were like, I finally feel like I can feel myself on my page. And I kind of wanted to dive into that, because although I feel like I really understood what you were saying about that, because it really resonated with me, because I feel like a lot of the times, you know, when you do take pictures that are just based on like your face, the judgment that you're getting is only based on your face. And I know that being someone who has so much personality, but also so much to offer, you know, to this world, and so much you want to do, that can feel really limiting, that people are only like, oh my gosh, you look gorgeous, baby. Oh my gosh, I love this dress. It's like, damn, there's so much more to this than, you know, that side of me. So I wanted to kind of dive into that and get a thorough understanding as to what that really meant for you, and how that really made you feel, feeling like you're at a point where, okay, I can breathe and I can just represent myself, my full self on here.
100%. That period that you mentioned when I was doing like the fashion stuff, I really commend people that can do that, because I think for me, it was soul draining in a sense, because you're judged on what you look like and your clothes and the quality of the photo. And I think it's a really bad cycle mentally, because you take what you think is a good photo and you're like, oh, I felt really nice in this photo, and you upload it, and if it doesn't get an amount of likes, then you feel horrible. And then it's like, oh, did I not look nice there? Like I felt really good in that photo, and then it makes you hate the photo. So over time, when you've left your job and you're trying to make a career out of something, and that particular thing isn't working, it's just like, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't I like these other fashion influencers that are getting all these likes and look gorgeous? And I think there's definitely like an issue on social media with that.
With what?
Like the mental health aspect of it all, because I can understand how people get depressed and like are really badly affected by stuff like this. And I said to my friend, and she called me up on it recently, I said something like, I cannot wait until I can post what I want on my page, and I don't care about likes, or people just like me for who I am. And then obviously I started YouTube. It was more about my personality. I was getting subscribers on YouTube who liked me for me, not based on like a photo. And from that, I just started changing the content that I was putting out, particularly on Instagram.
Really? So that's what kind of started it?
So I stopped doing the fashion stuff as much. And I just started posting, like if I was at an event, like a gaming event, and I felt really nice in the photo, I was smiling. Like that was the key. In all these photos that I took when I was doing the fashion stuff, never smiled.
It was like,
or it's like a fake smile. It's like, you know, it's like one of them ones. And these ones, I was just, the new sort of content that I started putting out, it was just me, like genuinely me happy in a photo, not me pretending to smile because I think it's going to get more likes. And then over time, I think the post you're talking about, I think it was about maybe half a year to a year into me doing YouTube. And I put out something like, it was something along the lines of, I'm so happy that I can look at my page now and know that this is me, and that people are able to see my personality through this app, which is like predominantly based on how you look, and it's all like perfection. And that was so important to me because I don't want to be judged. Don't judge me based on a photo
of your face,
of my face. Like there is so much more to me, and I feel like it took a while.
Was it scary getting to that point?
I think it was, because you have to take like a hit, I suppose, in terms of engagement.
Did you take that hit?
Yeah, in a way. I did it slowly, so I slowly fed out the fashion content whilst I was getting some more followers from the YouTube. So it did flow quite well. But I think, any time you change your brand, you're going to get a hit because most of the people that follow you for one reason. And if you're trying to change your direction, then it's going to be like a period of just like fuzz, and then you kind of get to where you want to be. But I would definitely recommend it because now my Instagram is just like a fun thing. Like I'll post like a photo when I want to, and your followers are engaged. And they're really engaged because that's the one thing I love about YouTube is you get subscribers and then they're so engaged, and it's kind of like a little family, which sounds really cliche to say, but then they follow you. So like they'll be on my Instagram and my Twitter and my TikTok and my Twitch and stuff like that. So it's really lovely.
Do you remember any specific moment where it was like, oh God, was it in terms of it being mentally challenging, but then also you feeling like I've made a mistake leaving your full-time job?
Not since I've started YouTube. Not since the day I figured out, when I mentioned earlier about there was a gap in the market in terms of gaming and presenting, not since that day, because it was kind of like a light bulb moment where I was just like, this is what I should be doing. Like it just made sense because my degree's in business, like I worked in business. I'm quite like business minded in the way that I operate. So it was just literally like, this is it. Like this is what I've been searching for so long. But those sort of the 4 or 5 month break between when I quit my job and when I kind of thought of that idea. Oh my God, I would be awake at like 3 a.m, being like panicking, like what am I doing? Like I shouldn't have quit my job. Like why did I do that? I'm never gonna make money. I was so stressed. And like I guess I was blessed in a way because that's the first time in my life where I felt like I have like
no choice.
I have no choice. I'm broke. Like I have no sort of means to an end. Like I had the luxury of having my parents if I really needed them, which I know a lot of people don't. So I feel super grateful for that. But that was the first time I'd really sort of had that panic in my life, which I guess is a blessing because like I got to that point and I know there's so many people that struggle like throughout their whole life. So I have to be grateful for in that sense. But oh my God, like 3 a.m, I was just like, what is going on?
Like, what have I done?
Yeah, and I was so happy when I finally was just like, this is it. And I think I rang my manager the next day and he was just like, that is the best idea you've ever thought of.
Wow.
In terms of the YouTube gaming stuff. So
I think the one thing, and this has come from, you know, me obviously following you and watching your stories a lot of the time. You're very open on your stories about what you're filming this day or bringing out this day. And also we obviously have, you know, Yasmin, our mutual friend. And I think me and Yasmin were having a conversation while we were in Tanzania at that point where she was just like, I think we're talking about hardworking people, and she brought up your name. She was like, Elz, I've been in her house, and she's like, I'm there doing some mad shit in the corner, and you're just there on the computer, like editing and doing this, and it's like, tomorrow I've got to do this. And she was saying that you were so like strategic with the way that you work. And I think that's one reality about, you know, the YouTube space and just everything that you're doing that people don't almost accept, that the hardworking elements of it. So walk me through that, and what was your reality in terms of the amount of work you actually have to pour in to get what you have going on now?
I wish that someone had told me how much hard work YouTube was before I started it, because I don't think people realize that. I'll talk you through the process of just putting one video up. So my videos are roughly like 10 to 15 minutes. But that is, you got to think of the video idea, which is like hard because you've got to try and think about what video is going to perform well, what's trending at the moment, what content is engaging. but also most importantly, like, what do I want to make? Because you have to balance it all out, because if you're not making content that you want to make, then you can tell and it's not going to be enjoyable. So there's that. You've got to think of an idea. Once you're set on the idea, you've got to set it all up. I had to learn how to do the lighting, what cameras to use, audio. If you're playing gameplay, that's a whole nother ballpark, because half the time, like, your PlayStation doesn't want to work and things like that. And I had to look at what other content creators were doing.
Yeah.
So that's just shooting the video, which takes about an hour. Then the editing, and I was, up until like a few weeks ago, actually, I've been editing myself. So the editing a video takes about 2 days of just me editing, because I feel like I'm just really fussy about how I want stuff to look.
You always went in with your edits.
Yeah, so even when I first started YouTube, I didn't just want to start it when I didn't know how to edit properly. Like I learned for 4 months, because I was just like, I know how I want my videos to look. So until I can get to that point, like, I'm not going to put any content out. Which I'm quite happy that I did, because now I look back at my first few videos and I'm like, they make me cringe a bit, because I was kind of robotic and like how I spoke, but at least like the editing was fine. Yeah. So that's like two days to do the video itself, do a teaser video, the thumbnail, think of a title. Then you put the video out and you're like, you have about 10 minutes and you're like, and then you're like, right, I've got to engage with people, reply to the comments, like advertise it on Instagram and Twitter and things like that, make sure the engagement's there. And then the next day, you've got to start all over again and think, okay, what's my next video that I've got to do? So it's like a cycle of, at that point, I was putting out 2 videos a week. I only do 1 now because of like my other presenting stuff. So I don't have time. But it was a lot of work. Like I would literally, for that whole, since I started YouTube, I stopped going to events. Like you mentioned Yasmin, like I used to go to events with her all the time. And I used to go out and like do stuff. I fell off the face of the earth. When I started YouTube, I was just like, do you know what? I need to commit to this for 6 months and just not do anything else, and this will be sort of my main priority. And I sometimes see memes that people post now on their Instagram stories, and it's something like, if you want something to be successful, you have to commit, like just drop everything else and commit to it for like, I don't know what the meme said, but maybe like a year or something, and I fully back it, because even there was days where I put out a video and it wouldn't do well, like it wouldn't get many views, and it's kind of just like, oh, I put so much effort into that video and I really loved it. But then I just kept reminding myself, I was like, one day, like the good thing about YouTube is like people can go back and look at your videos, and they do. It's not like Instagram where you post a photo and it just gets lost in the wilderness. With YouTube, they can always go back and find your videos. So I was just like, it's fine, I'll take the L and I'll just keep pushing on. And I'm so happy that I was just literally, that's my main, I was just like tunnel vision. Main focus was YouTube, first 6 months. And then I think it was for 4 or 5 months in, I did a collaboration with KSI. So we did play The Sims together, and that blew up. So that was kind of just like, that was the start of it just taking off really. And then a month later I went to LA with Xbox and ASOS, and that was like a big moment. The main thing for me is, we were talking about Instagram earlier. I sort of changed my Instagram from being just photos of myself into like a journey. I wanted it to.
That's actually what it feels like.
Yeah. So what I said,
from the very first post.
Yeah. So not even from the. I feel like there's a few. Like if you want to go down far enough. Post. Yeah. From the IBM post. And it was more, actually, I would more so say from the day I started YouTube. Okay. So I said to my manager, I was like, I want this to happen gradually. Like, I don't want, you know, if you like go on a reality show or something, and credit to anyone who can do it, because I could never do it, but they get sort of loads of followers really quickly. And then it's probably really stressful for them, because they're like, wow, what do I do with this? I was like, I want it to be gradual. Like, I want people to follow me on a journey, and I want my content that I put out to you. I want you to see like the little milestones as we go along. So that's what I started doing. So it was like, started the YouTube, KSI was on my channel, then I went to LA, and then I had my first big presenting role. So I think it's like, I really love showing a journey and like really trying to celebrate milestones, because for me, it's like, gives me time to actually sit down and think, oh, I've achieved this, because half the time I don't do that. So
do you feel like, as much as you enjoy, you know, allowing people to watch the journey, do you think that part of you also feels like it's for to almost give inspiration to people who want to be in your space? Yes,
100%. And I love that, because all I want to do is be relatable, because I'm just a normal person. I just like gaming, and I like presenting, and at the end of the day I still just do the same stuff that everyone else does. So I think that it's really important for me to always remain relatable, and I do want to inspire other people to do the same thing. Like one of the reasons why I even started the YouTube in the first place was because when I was younger, there was no one that did gaming that was a female and I could look up to. And I used to get teased a lot at school or wherever because people were like, why do you like gaming? You're a girl, you shouldn't like gaming, or you don't look like
a
gamer or someone that works in IT and things like that. And I'm just like, why do I need to look a certain way? Like I just want to be myself. So one of my main things is I always want to kind of inspire young people, if it's females or anyone really, to just be yourself. And I think that people fall in love with that. And I just want to give off a good example that if you work hard, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve and not focus on a lot of the stuff that I think social media is focused on, which is sort of like the glamorous stuff and materialistic things. And I don't want to lie. Like if I'm having a bad day, I'll probably put up my story like, oh, I'm stressed today. Yeah. Because I remember actually when it was around the time I quit my job, and my flatmate that I was living with, she moved out of London. So she moved out and she had all the furniture like in the living room. So she took it with her. And I remember being on my Instagram story. I need to find the stories actually. And I was walking, it was raining with my umbrella.
Oh my God, I remember
it was like
this.
really dramatic. And I was just like, so I have no furniture in my flat. And I was like, I can't afford to get more furniture right now. So I was literally just like, right. I remember looking, there was like, I quit my job, I had a good job, and now I've got no furniture in my flat. And I was like, but I've just got to take the L. So obviously now I've got furniture.
now that you are like in this space and you're doing so well in it, has it been, or is it everything you anticipated it for it to be?
That's a hard question, I think, because half the stuff that's happened, I never imagined that it would happen. Like, with the YouTube, I sort of was like, it would be nice to sort of have like a lot of subscribers and have like all these views, because business-wise, it kind of made sense because there was a gap in the market. So I was like, it technically could happen. But then actually reality of it happened, and I was just like, no, maybe like I'll do all right, and then that'll be that. What I didn't imagine was the presenting stuff. Obviously, I mentioned I did want to get into presenting, and I was doing the Rinse FM show at the time. But if you'd have said to me 3 years ago, you're going to be presenting for the Premier League and BBC Sport and doing all this football stuff in particular, I would have been like, you are lying, because I've been brought up around sports and things like that, and a lot of my family are really into football. But up until about 4 years ago, I didn't know that much about it. I'm still on a learning journey, and I've really fallen in love with the sport. But
with football,
the more I learn, the more I'm in that industry. I love it so much. But if you said to me 3 years ago, I would have been like, there's no way. Like, I'm just going to do YouTube, and I'm going to be on YouTube and do the gaming thing. The whole presenting stuff that has happened along the side of that is just like an added bonus. It's like two. So I have the YouTube and then I have presenting, and it kind of intertwines, but it's nice to have both of them because there's always a safety net. Like if your video doesn't do well, I'm like, it's fine, I've got a shoot tomorrow, so I can like keep myself busy that way. But yeah, I don't know.
It's different.
It's weird. It's a weird journey that's life is taking me on, but I kind of I made a decision to just go with the flow because my manager said to me early on, he was like, I think I got an opportunity, it was to present at the FIFA E-World Cup, which was at the O2 on stage, live, my first, I'd never even presented properly before. Like this is my first proper gig. And he was like, you can say no because you've not got the experience, or you can say yes and just not tell them and just do it and prove it. He's like, because I know you can do it, because I'm like really, before I do anything, like I have to be proper prepared. And he was just like, I know you're going to do fine. So my advice is just do it. So we did it. From that, that's literally like where everything took off.
Really?
So my one piece of advice is just like go for it. Try not to just let your fears hold you back, I guess. And I think from going back to where I quit my job, taking that leap of faith, everything past that point, now I'm just like, I'll just do it. Like, why not? I've done that, which is probably the biggest thing that I've done. I can do that. And anything that's happened since then is like a bonus in my life, because I'm like, I never expected any of this to happen. So
we spoke about something early on, and I just found it really interesting, because I think a lot of us do this without realizing, and I don't know if it's like just human nature. When, you know, you've taken, let's say, for example, yourself, you've taken the leap of faith, you left a full-time job, and your life is just moving and things are rolling. We've got COVID, life is moving. I think a lot of the times we aren't able to really take in the journey and every moment that's kind of happening within the journey. Do you feel like you are embracing every aspect and every moment of your life and your journey?
No. No. I really, it's something I really want to learn how to do. And I wish that I could learn how to do it, but I don't know if it's because I'm like a control freak, or I'm anxious or whatever, or it's that sort of determination in me. When I achieve something really good, or like a milestone, everyone's like, congrats, you must be so happy. And then I think, am I? Like, I don't even know, because I'm worried about what I've got to do next. Like, for example, I hit 100,000 subscribers last July, which was like crazy. A big milestone. Like, I didn't even think I'd ever get there. So when I hit it, it's a big thing, like, especially on YouTube, because you get the plaque and everything. And everyone's like, oh, you must be so proud and all this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah. Like, I don't know, because I don't know how to feel. And I think with how fast things move nowadays, I think that you don't know how to process things. I remember actually I used to host a podcast for JD, and I interviewed Maya Jama. And I asked her, I was just like, because she's achieved so much, like, honestly. And I said to her, when, I think it was just after she'd done Stand Up to Cancer, which was like a massive thing for her, I was just like, how happy were you after that? And she said, she was like, I wasn't. Like, I went on holiday for 2 weeks after that because I wasn't happy. I'd worked so hard to get to that point. I was drained. And like, that's, to date, is one of my favorite interviews I've done, because as someone that is doing presenting and kind of like
other things,
I just related to it so much, because I felt like on my own in a sense, because I was achieving all of these things, and I was thinking, why don't I feel the type of like elation that you think you would feel? Because when you envision all these things happening in your head, you're like, oh my God, I'll be so happy if that happened. And then when it happens, you're just like numb. I don't know if that's the right
I think numb is the right word.
Like, no, I don't have any emotions towards it. Like, I feel you do feel grateful, and it's just like such a good thing to achieve all of these things, but then at the same time, I don't know, it's just, Would
I be right in saying it's almost like you feel like a disattachment from it?
Yeah, I do, 100%, because it's work, but I enjoy it. Like, it's something that I enjoy. But when you set your mind on something so much, that I think you do feel disattached to it, because it's just like, oh, what's next now? Because you're just anxious, and you're like, I've got to do this now, because I've achieved this now, and there's all this pressure on me. Like, what if I fall off tomorrow? And like,
it's like that pressure of making sure that you are always in the limelight,
always consistent, because I'm like, I think long term, and I'm like, social media, anything can happen. It's very short term, because you see all these content creators come up, and then a few years later there's like a new cycle of them, and it's like, how do you stay relevant in a sense? But someone gave me some really good advice a few months ago, and it was like, when you achieve something, buy yourself something, which is hard for me, because I'm not very good at spending money, but I've taken it on board. So like, I bought myself an Apple Watch, which was massive for me. I was just like, oh, I'll treat myself to get an Apple Watch. But then even since then, like, if I have something good happen, like I'll have a drink. I'll put out on a Friday, I'll get dressed up and like have a drink, just to say, oh, cheers to me and stuff like that. So I think it's I'm learning how to do it as we go along. And I think as creators and as a generation, we need to not put so much effort, like put so much pressure on ourselves to just be all this successful and like, because social media is just a highlight reel.
It's literally so.
I think it's good to sit down and have some downtime and just think about what you've achieved. And it's not a bad thing to take a week off of social media to just chill and soak it in.
what, you know, you mentioned something, and I think we spoke about this before, but it's that thing of you not being someone who spends a lot. And I think right now on social media, remember I was saying to you, I had a conversation with another influencer before where we were saying that it feels like the online presence, or having an online presence, feels like it's shifting in the direction of you have to, you know, have the LV bag and the Fendi shoes and the Dior this and just everything, you know, very much glamorized, right? And
where are people? Where is this money coming from? Like, it baffles me constantly.
Social media, and you being someone who isn't, you know, bothered by all these things because you're not interested in, you know, purchasing expensive things, etc. Number one, where does that come from? And do you think that is something that, regardless of what's going on in the world, that you will never leave you because it's just a part of who you are?
I think I'm a very, pragmatic person is the word. Is where you think about things a lot before you make a decision.
Yeah.
I'm not spontaneous, so before I buy something, I think about it a lot. So I'll see something I like, I'll wait like 2 weeks and I'll process it and be like, do I really need this in my life? And then when I finally buy it, like, I know it's because I really need it. I don't know where that came from. Maybe it's just my personality. I think a lot of it is to do with when I was growing up, I had a lot of people around me that would like get loads of presents all the time and like get whatever they wanted. They have like the new iPhone and things like that. And I never got that. My parents were always quite, if you want a gift, it'll be for your birthday or Christmas. Like, you don't really, like, they would treat me every now and again, but it would not be like a really big expensive thing. They're like, if you want something, you could do like clean the car and like make, like earn the money. Cause like, for example, I was one of the new Sims game, which was like £15, I think. And they were like, okay, if you want £15, you've got to go and wash the car and do all this, and we'll tally it up. Like a fiver to wash the car, like £10 if you're gonna like mow the lawn and things like that. So from that, I kind of just learned that I could get by without all these things. Because like I was really happy like upbringing, and I didn't have the new iPhone and all these like really nice things. I think my parents just instilled sort of the value of working hard and being sort of sensible with my money, I guess, which I'm really grateful for, because now I kind of, if I have children, like I'll know how to sort of bring them up. And also I don't know why, but it's just, I just know what I like, and someone on social media posting a bag is not going to influence me, because when I see people buying loads of expensive stuff, I have so many questions. I'm like, where's the money come from? Did you pay, like, I don't know, because when I earn money, then I'm like, half of it is on tax. And I'm just like, oh, and then I've got to pay my bills and my rent and things like this. So I'm just like, oh.
Would you, in the topic of, because I think the thing about your story is very much like in the direction of leap of faith, you know, leaving full-time stability to going to the point where you're your own boss, you know, you're creating content and living your dream life, essentially. Do you feel like it's a part of your journey to ensure that you empower others to do the same? Or do you feel like it's just something that you feel like this is just my doing for myself?
I think it's actually like 50-50, both of those, because obviously most of the stuff I'm doing is for myself, because it's my life at the end of the day. But I do feel a responsibility to demonstrate like hard work ethic and like when we're talking about posting expensive things, and I don't necessarily have anything against people that do that, because it's your life, like it's your page, post whatever you want to do. But if I did that a lot, like if I was buying loads of expensive stuff, for example, I wouldn't post it on my social media, because I just feel like it wouldn't be responsible of me in a sense, because my whole thing is just like, this is about me as a person and the work that I do. That's all it is, about my content and myself. It's not about anything else. And I don't want to necessarily influence people to go out and spend money that they may not necessarily have to buy things to impress other people. Like, I don't think that would be in my best interest. So I just wouldn't do it. And also at the same time, I am quite like, as much as I put out content online and I'm very much, my personality is online, I'm really private. And I remember when I started YouTube, my mum was like, give enough of yourself to people, but don't give them everything. And I think since she said that, I stuck with it, because there's certain elements of your life that you just want to hold like to yourself, like family and sort of friends and things like that. I'm very private in that sense. So I think it's good to show your personality, but then at the same time, don't give everything that you have to
the world,
strangers.
Why do you feel like it's important for you to figure out what are the elements of you that you need to keep private and the elements you're willing to share?
I just think for my own sanity, because I'm very protective over people I love, I guess, and I know how horrible people can be on social media, and I don't think that I would be able to handle, like, if trolls are horrible about me, I don't care. Like, I'm used to it. You have a lot
of really horrible trolls.
I know.
Like, why are they so aggressive?
I don't know.
Sometimes when you post on your Insta stories, what people are saying to you, I'm like, I can't handle this. Don't talk to me like that.
I think it's my audience. They're sort of like banter.
I'm like, no, this banter's too much.
Yeah, honestly. So at this point, I'm just like, cool, I'll just go along with it. But if anyone said anything about someone I loved or like, I couldn't handle it. Like, if it's me, it's fine. Anyone else, no, don't be rude. Like, why are you saying stuff like that? So I think it's really important for me to sort of have that private aspect and just to like, it's like I don't know how to explain it properly. It's kind of just like, this is mine. Like, none of you can have this type of thing, which I think is important because we shouldn't have our whole lives on social media.
If you were like, just based off of some of the videos you used to post for, you know, we're talking about the avatar, the avatar stuff, the stories you used to post, and I get this description of like the younger version of Elz, right? If you could have a message that you could send out to her from the point that you're at in life right now, what would that message be?
Don't change yourself for anyone at all. I feel like when I was growing up, I tried to please people a lot, please everyone else, fit in with everyone, and do things that I thought would make people proud of me. But in reality, it's like you look back and you're like, why did I do that? Like, I would look back on certain like periods of my life and I'm like, what? Like, why? So I think it's just important to be yourself. Don't do things for anyone else, because at the end of the day, it's you. Like, you're your own main priority. It's good to have people are proud of you, but they should be proud of you no matter what, because if they love you, then they should support you. And I think it's very hard, especially with social media and just nowadays, to not try and do things
that are outside of you.
Just be yourself, because if everyone was the same, I think I said this, I can't remember, it must have been recently because it's in my head. If everyone was the same, like, it would just be boring. Like, everyone would just be the same person and have the same views and be into the same things. Be yourself, because your personality and your like soul is what makes you unique, and people will remember you for that. So just be yourself.
Do you feel like you are essentially walking in alignment and towards what you are supposed to do on this earth? You know, when people are having this conversation of like, am I walking in purpose? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Do you feel like you are doing that? I
guess so, because half the stuff that happens, I'm like, how has this happened to me? Like, why do I deserve it? And you know, there's some like imposter syndrome and things like this. I think everyone gets it. Everyone must get it. Because I don't think it's good to question yourself. But sometimes I'm like, why am I here? When I present, I can't watch myself back because I think I'm terrible. Wow. I'll look at myself presenting and I'm like, why do people hire me? I think it's the sound of your own voice type thing, isn't it? Because I think anyone sort of probably has a similar thing. So I guess so, because I think it's 50-50. I think half of it is down to hard work, and you do have to be really focused on what you want and sacrifice and have that hard work ethic. But then a lot of it is down to you and just like your journey, I guess, and you as a human. And I think if the main thing is just being a good person. And if you're a good person and you're kind to other people, then people are naturally sort of drawn to you. Yeah, and I think that's a key thing, because especially in entertainment and content creation,
that's what it's
you
about.
Can't be, you just can't be a bad person. Like, people will spot it from a mile off, and then, so yeah, just be a good person.
I love that. I feel like that's the perfect way to round the conversation.
Yeah.
This was so good. How do you feel about it?
I feel like I got really deep, which I don't normally do.
Do you not?
No, I'm more just like, hey, welcome to my YouTube channel, like a robot. So I think it's really nice.
That people can hear like this side of you.
Yeah, and I think it's good to show sort of the backstory to it all.
To your journey, yeah.